Can you guys not all stand right in front of me?
Okay.
He's leaving at USC.
Alright, so, Conclave. So, last you saw it, it looked extremely, extremely different, didn't it? So,
I want the stick figures back.
I was growing pretty attached to them. So now that we got assets, we've got a big map, we can finally start talking about what's really so interesting about Conclave, which is that it's a competitive. The sound is working, right? Yeah, you got sound.
You can hear footsteps though usually. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
Keep
Well,
going.
anyways,
Keep going.
Yeah. So now that we got this full map, we can talk about what's interesting, which is that it's a competitive free-for-all game, which is so unusual now. And what's tricky about a free-for-all game is you've got a server full of people and everyone can shoot everyone. It's so chaotic. So everything we're doing in the game to combat this, Justin is alone right now. He's going to jump into a server in a little bit. But all of our designs are for the purpose of spreading people around these large maps. So the map is really, really big. And the way you can traverse it is there's a sprinting mechanic with a little wind-up. You just jet and you go, and you've got a much, much faster speed than your normal speed. But when he stops, he's back to his normal run speed. And what this does is it lets there be pockets of combat around the large map. You can't see. Can you see?
Not past him, but I can see past you.
All right, so you get pockets of combat around the map because you move at a short speed of combat and a really fast speed when you're trying to traverse. Another thing that we want people to spread out on their own, so there's incentives to do that. There's objectives mixed in with just the free-for-all deathmatch. One of them is your only way of healing is you use a potion, and you need to refill it at these fountains. So if you're recovering from a fight, you need to find a fountain, going back to heal. And they're usually in either really dangerous places or really out-of-the-way places, so you have to devote some time to doing it. And when you refill, you're extremely vulnerable, leaning over and filling up. And the biggest thing that helps people spread out is there's a contract system, which is where when you join the server, you've always got one person marked, and you get extra points for killing them. They might be way across the map. So in order to show you that, we're going to need to jump into a live game here.
Is there a map to show you where they are?
It's 110.
No. Well, you'll see.
Cancel
110.
It cancels 110.
110.
So don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can just hit up and change it to 110.
Alright, so we're going to jump into this server, and so one of the big ways that we are trying to spread people around the map is by giving them these contracts. So giving them certain incentives to go certain places at certain times. So once you get into a game with more than 4 people, you'll be assigned a contract, which is going to be worth double points. So it's in your best interest to get the highest score possible to go and find your contract and kill them. It also gives you the location of a player. So if you're running around and you can't find anyone, you always know where at least one person is going to be. So assuming you're in this game. Alright, so play as the red mage. And here he is, Rahul, our contract right now. And they're just going to land to each other. So you've got firing their combos off, blocking, hitting each other,
Disconnecting.
disconnecting, right? That is still something that happens.
Good spell.
The server we're going to rebuild that as soon as we can. But anyway, so once you kill the contract, you're assigned another one immediately. So if someone else kills your contract, you've been running across the entire map trying to get to this one person, and then all of a sudden you flip it over to the other side because your person is killed. We don't want that. We want it to be so that once you make a decision to go somewhere, you're going to have the chance to be rewarded for making that choice. So what happens is the person that kills you, your contract, then becomes your contract. So get back into this next iteration of the server.
What happens when you work your way through that hierarchy of death, as it were?
Essentially, it kind of just recycles. So as the players respawn, they're then assigned new contracts on you and on other people. And what can happen is, because if you kill someone's contract, you become their contract, the person who's going around as the headhunter kind of gets this pile of contracts. So multiple people are incentivized to attack the same person. Alright, so
And you can see who this contract is anywhere on the map. The arrow draws over geometry.
To your left.
Is 2 times enough of a score difference to make it worthwhile?
Well, we're gonna have to see, we can adjust that.
It's the big first kill, healing up.
Potion.
Yep. Healing back to full health.
Oh, and then there's Derek.
Come to you guys.
So, one of the important things is because the fountains are the only way to regenerate health, getting to the fountain and getting there at the right time is very important. So once someone goes and refills their bottle, you cannot do so for a minute. So in situations like, I don't know if we've seen one yet, but it's a frequent occurrence where two people are running to the same fountain, one guy gets there first, they're both at low health, and the other guy is just unable to compete.
You're connecting San Diablo.
Exactly.
Our connection is not great right now. I have to apologize. Yeah.
I like how the model has a shorter head.
We've been joking that it is actually, in fact, Andrew Thompson, who is our red mage. So one of the big things that we've been trying to move away from is Conclave as a button masher. I know that's been kind of a concern. And so what we've been trying to do is insert greater wind-ups and wind-downs between spells, making it so that the choice of what spell you use is more important than just hitting the button as many times as fast as you can. Yeah.
Go ahead and set stuff up then. Okay, so I'm going to talk about engineering for a moment and say, of course, while working on Conclave, as you saw at the midterm, we had our red mage, right? Moving forward, we're implementing more characters, and so engineering, of course, has to implement those characters, but we don't have our sights only on iterations at the moment. We're making sure to set up a good workflow for iterations in the future. So one of the key focuses that we were making in the last several weeks is the ability to have everything script-based. So if our designers have any idea that just pops into their head and they feel like, let me go ahead and try that out and see how that feels, they can go ahead and edit the game immediately without
You killed your computer.
without rebuilding.
You can find bugs very easily.
Yes. So it hit okay.
It's all right. It only has to work next week. This week is about how you present it. You guys are doing great. So keep going.
Dustin, you don't have internet.
Yeah, we don't need
So yeah,
we're playing over local area network is what we were doing because the UFC wireless doesn't let you forward the ports.
Or
And
do
so we bring in a
anything.
router
Yeah.
and we just connect to that and just do local area network,
Okay.
which is why we need to do the command prompt connect instead of just the create server. If we were on the internet, we could just create the server and you could find it very easily.
So if you'll recall, at the midterm, we were highlighting the fact that we were able to input new, change the damage on weapons. So now this is kind of like the next step in that process.
So I'm going to go ahead and narrate Justin's thoughts. So he's hard at work. He's a designer, and he's looking at the spell Arcane Bolt, and he hits him with Arcane Bolt, and it just seems boring to him. It doesn't have enough pizzazz, if you will. So what he can go ahead and do is, if he closes the game, he can go ahead and just simply edit 2 script files in order to add a player effect, which is a buff or a debuff of some kind. And so if he goes ahead and opens up player effects, he can make his new player effect. So he scrolls down to keep everything nice and neat, and he's going to add his new effect, and he's going to call it Awesome Effect. Because he's the designer, he makes the decisions. And so he's going to go ahead and he's going to add a duration to it. And
On the spot, Justin.
we're doing this live to be able to show that we can have rapid iteration and do things quickly. He feels that he wants his player effect to go for 2 seconds. He can also go ahead and, you can just copy and paste the other part. The tick interval through, He wants to go ahead and add a player effect so he can go ahead and see it, adding visual pizzazz. A particle effect to the player effect. All the effects. He wants to go ahead and change that particle effect to 6 because he wants the awesome effect to burn the enemy's hands. And so he knows exactly what that is. He can go ahead and add it. He also wants to apply a damage over time effect to this. And so he can go ahead and just edit a few numbers.
He's a designer, so he doesn't know about floats.
Careful.
Woo! Serious business. So now he can hit save.
So true.
So now he's created a new particle effect. Now all he has to do is
Player effect.
new player effect, And now all he has to do is apply it to the weapon. So he goes ahead and opens up Arcane Bolt, the weapon in question. He adds, go ahead and add the dictionary. So another part of our system is that we're able to add dictionaries for custom effects to weapons or projectiles or anything else. And it's lowercase s, and it's in quotes. Yes. Okay, and so he can go ahead and add a dictionary. This is stuff just for this weapon, and he's able to do it, and it works in Engine without rebuilding or anything. It's simply magic. Then he'll go ahead and add his new awesome effect. Save, close, and then he can restart the game. So once we go ahead and get back into a game, he can continue his testing.
Unless he named a variable.
Perfect. Infallible.
It seems like such a long time right now, but this is an extremely short amount of time when you're at home working.
Or if you're cramming and quickly needing to get things done by the end of the semester.
Although I do have to say, I type quite a bit faster.
Well, the keyboard I don't like is.
So go ahead and add
Yeah, he's a
pause.
designer.
Arrow keys are all wrong.
Yeah,
And what do producers want out there?
So now he has
How slow the designers
and he
are.
can go ahead and use Arcane Bolt. And you can go ahead and see the player effect is now working. You can see both his glowing hands and the damage over time effect working on him, working against this bot. So he was able to rapidly iterate without needing an engineer or anything. So if he doesn't like this, he can go back and change things. He could completely undo. He could make it more advanced. He can make it stronger, weaker, whatever his designer heart desires.
Cool.
So we are just now getting to the point. So the implementation part, so Red Mage is good, so this is where this is going to start coming in handy, is where we're actually deciding, okay, this ability is a little bit too strong, we're going to need to change this up, we're going to need to add, a damage over time effect to this. So it really is going to become very useful in the coming weeks. So.
And all those scripts are in your source.
I think it's also worth, oh yeah.
5 minutes.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think it's worth mentioning, at the midterm time, what we were doing with scripting was largely built around what Source already did, and has a built-in script language and you can interface with it. But like when you saw Justin putting that dictionary block, that's something totally new that we've done, which is
I wouldn't hate it.
something new that we've done.
Yeah.
That lets you use any arbitrary variable without first. You don't need to like go into the code and add it, which is what Source how it used to work. You can just define any arbitrary name for any type of variable that you want. It makes it so much faster.
It automatically works.
So you can summon
And other than that, like big features that we've been doing, like unfortunately that internet connection was really laggy, but that's not the game, I swear. But most of it's been feeding into that combat. I mean, even between last week and right now, a lot of these things they take all semester long, and they come in at the end. As soon as they started piling in the contracts, the fountains, the items, having a bigger map, the game just plays completely different than how it used to. So
Big push for next semester. What are the big key items?
well, next semester, we slowed down a little bit on the characters themselves, like we talked about in the midterm, in order to focus on the mechanics themselves. Oh, by the way, I'm just going to show the Ranger a little bit.
Cool.
So we've slowed down on characters. We need to pick that up. We've only got 2 characters in. We were planning on having like 2.5 when we started the semester. It's really more like 1.5 at the moment. Enough to get a feel for both the characters, but we're going to speed up character development, do a little bit more work on maps like we were planning originally, and we're going to need to find more artists. Fortunately, like we made a big art push among ourselves, and Antonio Cade?
Yep.
Yeah, Antonio Cade, who is on Minus Lab. I know him. I can't remember names. But he joined us, thankfully, and he got a lot of stuff done. But like this model right here is really temporary. The Red Mage model is a little bit better, but still not final. We were really hoping to have lots of models by now, so that's something we're going to need to focus on.
And concerns, risks, challenges, do you think? Still ahead?
Well,
Besides getting more artists.
Yeah, it's been a challenge working with Source, not particularly because Source is so hard, but just because a lot of people aren't familiar with it.
It's new territory.
You know, because a lot of these final game projects are not about learning something; it's just about creating.
But you've got to kind of overcome that, it feels like.
Huh?
You've overcome that to some extent. So I'm thinking about risk
Yeah.
for next. When you look at next semester, like what do you think stands in the way of getting more maps, or done, or I don't know, balance challenges?
Well, art and well, there is another thing with this game. Something I wasn't anticipating was how closely tied together art, specifically animation, and the mechanics of the game. Because it's one thing to be able to say like, all right, this spell is a longer wind-up now, to adjust it for balance, but unless you go in and change the animation too, it's really, really jarring. I'm used to working with shooters, and this game is sort of like half of a shooter, but I didn't realize at the time, when you're just holding a gun, it's so easy just to be like, oh, let's just use the same animation, we'll change it later. But here it's really crucial. Every time we want to change the character up, we need to go in and add animations for it. That's been something slowing us down. And hopefully more designers can get used to that workflow of having Maya open, having the scripts open, having the game open all at the same time.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? All right. Good. Very good presentation. Definitely nice progress.
Thank you.